Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So as you can see from the title and the thumbnail, this is my June Book Tag Tuesdays video, and we are doing a Book of the Month book tag. No, this is not sponsored. Although I would it would be nice to be sponsored because I do a lot about Book of the Month. Anyway, not the point. I'm not doing this so I can get sponsorships, you guys. So the reason I'm doing this in June is because I had joined Book of the Month in June years ago, and then I stopped, and then I rejoined again in June. So it felt like the perfect time for me to do a Book of the Month tag. And this is also an original book tag because I tried finding one, couldn't find one, so created my own. So as usual, I'll say this again at the end of the video. As usual, I am tagging anyone and everyone who wants to do this. Leave a comment, do your own video, make a post, whatever you want to do. I'd love to know your answers. So I am gonna have some rules or things to try to follow for this book tag because this is specifically Book of the Month. These aren't hard rules, but it's kind of almost hard rules, just because it is a Book of the Month specific tag. So number one is, as with the name of the tag, we want to try to focus on Book of the Month books and authors, whether it's physical books or audiobooks, and authors that have been featured in Book of the Month. So for example, a book that I'm not including in this is The Disappearance of Asher Burkhardt by Natasha Lester. She's been featured, so I could technically answer that for one of these prompts. But J.R.R. Tolkien has not been featured through Book of the Month, so I could not use him as an answer. So trying to focus on Book of the Month centered answers, or books and authors that have been shown through and featured through Book of the Month. So that's where the focus should be. And number two is, if you don't have a book or author that fits the prompt, if you don't have a Book of the Month book or author that fits the prompt, you can go to the Book of the Month site or app and choose a book or author that interests you. Jeez, I'm getting a lot of messages right now. And then number three is, if you don't have a book or author that fits the prompt and can't find a book or author on the Book of the Month site or app that you're interested in, then that's when you can choose a non-Book of the Month featured book or author. So if there's a prompt where I don't have a Book of the Month book or author that fits that prompt, and I can't find anything on the site that interests me that would fit that prompt, then that's when I could turn to one of my other books. Like, let's say if J.R.R. Tolkien fits the prompt, then that's when I could turn to a J.R.R. Tolkien book. Number four, if you have a book if you have a book or author that Book of the Month featured, but you don't have the Book of the Month version, that's okay. Like, for example, the Disappearance of Asher Burkhardt, I do not have the Book of the Month edition for that, but I could still use that if I decided to use that to answer one of the prompts. And then number five, the bonus prompts are optional. They're fun, but they are optional. There are 20 prompts, not including the 4 bonus prompts. There are 24 prompts in total that you can do. But since there are 20 prompts, you do not have to do the bonus ones. They're just fun little tidbits to do. Since I am the one who created the tag, I will be doing them. And I have included my answers for the bonus prompts, but you don't have to do them. And they're also kind of there where if you don't have an answer for one of these prompts, you can do one of the bonus prompts as well. So with all that said, let's get into this book tag. Also, I did not grab the books, so I will be mentioning titles and authors, but I did not grab the books specifically just because they're on the bottom 2 shelves and there's a lot of stuff blocking it right now. We're almost done with unpacking. We're getting there, but there's stuff blocking it. I did not feel like moving stuff around because I'm slowly recovering from whatever the frick I had. So to get into this, I will be looking down and kind of going up and down a little bit since there are so many prompts. But the first prompt is 5 monthly choices, your top 5 books. For me, in no particular order, Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson, What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez, The Foxwife by Yang Ji Tu, Clytemnestra by Constanza Cassidy, and As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by Zulfa Katu. Love those books. Those are my top 5 for what I would recommend to people if people were to ask. The next prompt is New to You, a book and or author that's new to you, but you now love. And this does not have to be a debut author. It does not have to be a new author within the recent years. It can be it just has to be a new to you author. They can have a lot of books and they're new to you. For me, the one I chose was The Attic Child by Lola J. I absolutely love that book. It was heart-wrenching and just a beautifully told story. Also, sidetrack, I'm not giving descriptions just because there are 20 prompts and 24 that I will be answering. So I'm not going to give descriptions right now, and I'm trying to be better about that in some other videos, but right now we're not worrying about that. But The Attic Child, absolutely beautiful story. I love Lola J's work in that. I will try to look into some of her other work as well, but right now, love The Attic Child. The next prompt is Lolly Award, a Lolly winner or finalist you loved and or are interested in. So for me, I really loved The Lion Woman of Tehran, which was a Lolly finalist in 2024. This is by Marjan Kamali. Loved that book so much. I have to do a reread of it because I feel like not that I missed anything really, but I feel like there was so much more to it that I didn't fully comprehend in my first read. The next prompt is Centennial, a book you'd recommend for 100 years. For me, this would be A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I loved this book so much. I read it regularly. This is going to be one of my books that I try to read once a year. Absolutely love it. Love the story, love the magic system, love the characters, everything about it. I don't know if the funny thing is I don't know if I like Rebecca Ross's other works as much, but I love A River Enchanted. So the next prompt is Member Fave, a book you'd recommend. I was about to repeat the Centennial one. Member Fave, a popular book you enjoyed or are interested in. Now, for me, there's a lot of books that I was interested in, but I tend to avoid popular books just because I tend to try to avoid them during the hype. And then I'll read them after the hype. So for me, I would be interested in any Kristen Hanna book, but specifically The Four Winds seemed interesting, and the cover was really interesting too for The Four Winds. So the next prompt is Refer a friend, a book and or author you'd refer to a friend or had a friend refer to you. I am going to do both. So I've referred Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher to one of my friends because I think she would love that book. And I've also had a lot of Kristen Hanna books recommended to me, referred to me, so it's on my radar. Kristen Hanna books have been on my radar. The next prompt is Challenges, which is right there. A book that challenged your perception and or way of thinking. For me, I would go with The Mayor of Maxwell Street by Avery Cunningham. I loved this book. I loved a lot of the books that I'm mentioning in these if I've read them. And honestly, like, that really makes you think about how we treat people who don't look like us, who aren't like us. It makes you think about how we treat them, and then how we treat them if they're all of a sudden successful. So, or all of a sudden in a position of power and brought up to that kind of a position. So it really makes you think about just how we treat people in general, and also how we treat people who, like I said, don't look like us or don't always agree with us, who don't have the same traditions, values as us. So definitely recommend that one. So the next prompt is Book Boss, your final boss book you need to read by the end of the year. I have a few, but the main one that I was thinking of was Violet Thistlewaite is Not a Villain Anymore by Emily Krumpholz. And the main reason why I've done this book for my Book Boss prompt was because I got it through Book of the Month, and then I follow the author on TikTok, and I totally forgotten about it. And then I got the book in Book of the Month, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna look up the author on like Instagram and TikTok and stuff. And I found that I already followed her on TikTok, and I was like, oh, I already follow her. I totally forgotten about it. So that's like my big boss, and I'm really excited for the book. And even before I really knew about the book, when she was sharing like her updates and stuff, I was super interested in it. So the next prompt is debut darling author, your favorite debut author from the past 5 years. And I'm going with Avery Cunningham here because Mayor of Maxwell Street was like chef's kiss perfection. I loved it. The next prompt is debut darling book, your favorite debut book from the past 5 years. And I separated these two out just because you might have a favorite debut author, but you might not like their debut book as much, but you like them. And then you like a debut book, but you might not like, I don't know. I decided to separate them out just because you might want to do two different answers. You can do the same thing for these two prompts if you want. But for me, debut darling book, Clytemnestra by Costanza Cassidy. Honestly, love that book so much. And the fact that we get it from Clytemnestra's point of view, that whole story, her whole story, again, chef's kiss perfection. The next prompt is Long Hauler, your favorite 400 plus page book. And for me, I would say What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez, because honestly, like, that spoke to inner child Shanna. And especially with my love of ancient Egypt and Egyptology, that just spoke to inner child Shanna. So it was a long haul in terms of pages, but it was not a long haul in terms of how much I loved it. The next prompt is Hot Taker, a book where you didn't agree with a majority of the reviews. For me, I chose Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall for this one, just because I enjoyed it and it was good for what it is. I enjoyed it in the moment, but I wouldn't say that like my rating matched a majority of the reviews and ratings that this book has gotten. And it was a good palate cleanser. It was good in the moment, like I said. It's not something I would really return to or want to read again or recommend, really. I mean, I would recommend it based on, like, if that's the kind of book you like. But, like, it's not something that really worked for me. And it was just, the pacing felt off. I had a hard time connecting to the characters. And some of the plot points just felt a little too obvious for me. So, the next prompt is Horse's Mouth, your favorite audiobook narrated by the author. Now, I love it when authors narrate their own audiobooks because you kind of hear it in their voice. For me, I think the best one was The Foxwife by Yang Chi-Chu because you kind of just hear it from her perspective, and having an author from that background narrate her own book about that kind of a situation, about a lot of the plot points and the fact some of the things that people go through of that culture, like, I think it was a great thing for her to narrate her own book. So that's where it really worked. All Ears, the next prompt, a book you'd recommend as the audiobook. Now there's a few, because I feel like if you're looking at like mixed media, those might work better as audiobooks, or true crime, or even like mystery thrillers might work better as audiobooks. For me, the one I chose specifically for this prompt was The Amalfi Curse by Sarah Penner. Part of the reason why I chose it was because I did listen to it as the audiobook, but also I feel like with the magic system and with everything going on, it did work better as the audiobook in my opinion. The next prompt is Offsetter, which is right there. Your favorite indie or international book and or author, or one you're interested in. Now, I like how they're including indie and international books and authors. I really like how they're doing that now. I think they could do better with it and better with the choices, because it seems like they're choosing like the ones that have already started to gain popularity rather than choosing indie authors or international authors that could use a popularity boost through Book of the Month. But it's a good start. So the one, I haven't read any from their Offset collection, but the one I'm interested in is The Natural Way of Things by Charlotte Wood. I'm not typically a lit fic person, but this one was the one that seemed the most interesting to me. So that's my opinion. The next one is Book of the Month Live, BOTM Live, an author you'd love to have an off-the-cuff convo with. And for me, there's quite a few. there are two that came to mind specifically, and one is Sarah Penner and the other is Zulfa too. I'd love to just have conversations with them about their books, about their writing process, about their experiences, if it really had an impact on the way their stories went. So that's what I would choose. Or that's who I would choose to have an off-the-cuff type of a conversation with. So the next prompt is member choice, and a book and or author you'd love to see featured on Book of the Month. And there's quite a few. I mean, I'd love to see Tolkien featured, but that could be a real hard one to nab with the Tolkien estate. I kind of don't see that one happening, but my main answer that I would go for would be Emily McIntyre, because I think, and like a large reason why I say this is because the Never After novels, like I have the paperbacks and it's all like, all the heights are just slightly different and it bothers me so much, and I love how the Book of the Month books are all the same height. So it's like, that's like the main reason why I say that. But honestly, it would be kind of fun to see what covers Book of the Month would do for the Never After novels. So the next prompt is different book formats. Another book format you'd like to see Book of the Month incorporate, whether it's paperback or ebook, because they do have hardbacks and audiobooks. I personally would like to see them do both, just for full accessibility reasons, because sometimes hardbacks are harder to hold than paperbacks, or sometimes they already have audiobooks, which is good. Sometimes ebooks are easier to hold than physical books, and sometimes they just need the audiobooks, so they already have the audiobooks, but I'd love to see them incorporate paperbacks and ebooks. The next prompt is different story formats. Another story format you'd like to see Book of the Month featured. So whether it's graphic novels, manga, mixed media, etc. I think they do already have some mixed media, but I would kind of like to see more. I'm not the hugest mixed media book format, story format person, but it would be kind of fun to see that. For me personally, I would say graphic novels and manga and manhwa, just to see some more diversity, and those would also fit in the offset with the international translated stuff. So I'd love to see that. And then the last of the main prompts is nonfiction, a nonfiction genre you'd like to see Book of the Month feature more of. I feel like a lot of their emphasis is on nonfiction stuff, and especially like the popular nonfiction stuff. So for nonfiction, I'd like to see more true crime, more of that kind of a deal, and also more non-US and non-Eurocentric history. Those would be, I think, the best ones to incorporate. So that's my opinion there. I think it'd be good for them to incorporate more non-US centric, non-Eurocentric history, because one, it could add to the offset stuff, and two, we don't need that much more US history, US centric history, and Euro history and Eurocentric history. We don't need more of that featured. And also with like their memoirs and stuff, like we don't need more of that featured. Unless they're not white, then it's fine. For the bonus prompts, the first one is out the door, something you wish Book of the Month would get rid of. For me, it would mainly be the square around the Book of the Month logo and the Book of the Month logo in multiple places. And it's just like, I get it, it's for like the seamless, it's part of it. I don't mind it on the actual hardcover itself, but on the dust jacket, I don't need the Book of the Month logo in multiple places. The second bonus prompt is update or addition. An update and or addition you wish Book of the Month would make to their app or site. For me, I would like the main thing. There are two things that I wish they would add or like update, is the ability to reread books and mark them for the next year challenges, because I reread a lot of my books, and being able to like mark them towards that challenge would one, it would just really help towards the challenge, and two, it's like it would kind of help me keep track of what I'm reading when, and specifically for the book of the month books. So that's what I wish they would update. And also adding a DNF feature to kind of for the same reason, to keep track of what I'm DNFing that's book of the month specific, because when I'm going through like the Storygraph or Fable, they don't always have like book of the month edition or book of the month cover, so it's like it would be a little bit easier to keep track each year what I am reading each year that's book of the month specific, what I'm DNFing that's book of the month specific. It'd be nice to kind of keep track of that year by year. And then for what I wish they like, also one other thing I'd wish they add or be a little bit more inclusive about is not always having the trending books and authors, because that's something that I've noticed, and I get it, it's a selling point, it's a marketing point, but I wish they would include more of the underground stuff, because I think that's what they'd started off with, like books that weren't necessarily always going to be trending or popular, but books that anyone would like to read, you know? So that's what I wish for that prompt. And then the third prompt for the bonus prompts, second to last one in total, is something different you wish book of the month did, whether it was different covers, separate app for audio or listening experiences, etc. So I do wish that they would do different colors just to make it slightly different, because I am a little bit of a collector. I am trying to be mindful about like my collecting habits, but like I am a bit of a collector when it comes to books, and I like having pretty editions, and I like having display editions versus editions that I read. So it's like I wish they had different editions or different covers for their books to make it stand out from like the rest of the hardbacks, aside from just having the book of the month logo on it, you know? And then I do wish that they had a separate app for audiobooks and podcasts, because like I always forget that I have the audiobooks and the book of the month app, and then I can go back to that and listen to it. So I wish they had like a separate one for audiobooks, just to be like, oh yeah, I have the audiobook app. Or like, oh, maybe not like a separate app, but maybe a way to sync it up with your audiobook app, whatever you use. So if there's like a way to sync it up, that would be helpful, but that would take a lot, but maybe a separate app. And then the last prompt is stay the same, something you hope book of the month will never change. And for me, I would say like the accessibility for finding new books and authors. And again, this is why I wish they would kind of steer a little bit away from the trending books and authors, because it's like part of the reason why I liked book of the month when I first started was because these were books that I wasn't seeing on social media as much. These were the books that I maybe saw like once or twice and then forgot about it and was like, oh yeah, I remember seeing this book. But it wasn't trending stuff. It wasn't stuff that was getting super popular. It wasn't from popular authors. There were some, but there were some books from popular authors, and that would be stuff that they added. But like what they would focus on for that month would be up and coming authors or new authors or debut authors or authors that weren't as popular. So I would kind of wish they would go back to that and keep that the same, and then maybe have popular books and popular authors be add-ons rather than like the month selection. So that is the end of this video. That is the end of the prompts, and this is a lot shorter than I was expecting. This video is shorter than what I was expecting it to be, which is a good thing. And I have links down below in the description. I have my own book of the month referral link down below in the description if you'd like to use that and sign up. And again, I am tagging anyone and everyone who wants to do this. Like I said, do it in the comment, do it in your post, in your own video. I'd love to know your answers. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.